Ho ho ho, it is I, the Easter Bunny, and today we're going to do something a little different because I don't think I've seen people with more passion than Dragon's Dogma fans outside of Star Wars comment threads. Raider! Not taking the piss. I'm constantly smiling when I read your comments, and I want to say thank you. Not just to everyone sitting through my god-awful videos, but to everyone commenting, and especially leaving helpful advice and tips for myself and other players. The passion you have for this game is clear, and it's because of you guys that I wanted to revisit Mystic Knight and Magic Archer. So you are to blame for this video. And I'm doing it as an Easter special because this will definitely be out in the month of April, or run around naked, but that's not how I play Dragon's Dogma. Gotcha, bitch! That's how I play Elden Ring. This will run a little longer because I really freeformed this and ended up covering Magic Archer, New Game Plus, and dipped into Ranger as well. So I start up Dragon's Dogma and switch myself over to Mystic Knight. Most of the gear I already had equipped is ideal, and I have a cool sword I got from somewhere, so I'll use that for now. I return to Casadis and discover first that I am always surprised by how good this game looks, and the second that my sword makes swishy lightning sounds. I head out just to get to grips with the gameplay again, while a sorcerer pawn just destroys the fucking planet with meteors. I, on the other hand, am predictably rusty, as I have been playing Elden Ring and did not match up my key bindings.
Oh fucking hell!
I ran.
Whoa, 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 whoa! What the fuck's this? No shield! Shield! Ah.
Speaking of George R.R. Martin, I've been criticised for comparing DD to Dark Souls, and I want to take a moment to clarify that. The marketing for Dragon's Dogma back at release made it look like Dark Souls, that's all I meant. Arguably that just put me off the game more, because again, the initial PC port of Dark Souls, not the remastered version, was fucking atrocious. I think 99% of people understood what I was saying, but I want to clear that up. Anyway, that long-winded paragraph should have given you time to see I've got the basics of Mystic Knight down. Smack with sword, occasionally raise shields. While fighting this cockatrice, 2 of my pawns get petrified and turned to stone. And then I decide to just let them stay that way. I've been having it too easy topside, so it's just me and Morgan Le Fay out on an adventure. I visit the bandit camp, and I'm reminded that basically everyone of significance will comment on the end of the world past a certain point in the main quest.
Seems we finally come up against the end of the world, eh?
That's a lovely detail. DD is very good at keeping the game world feeling alive, moving and current. Even if I feel like there are no more surprises, I end up getting surprised anyway. I go back through the Witchwoods and enjoy getting lost again. I'm just about settling into the wonderment of the game before I have to stop to manage my fucking bag space. Okay, I head back to Gran Soren. I debate whether or not to pick up another pawn in the Rift when I find one standing about. Go on then, just one. I pop to the Everfall once again for a little bit more of a challenge, and I pick a level completely at random. For fuck's sake! Ogres! Again! And now I'm having fun. We're in a good sized room, but it's tight enough that the ogres are dangerous, but at the moment the Mystic Knight gameplay is, well, it's a bit underwhelming. But I'm using the basic abilities, so that's to be expected. What is this skill check though? Look at this. Michael Myers ain't got shit on this guy. I can't wiggle off to save my life. And of course the other one grabs me as well. I'm liking buffing my shield into the big paladin wall of light. It feels good and looks good. I unlock some new skills like this magic cannon that lets me summon a ball of energy, which upon striking launches magic in the general direction of where I'm aiming. This is quite a neat way to take down flying enemies. What I found a lot more fun was the vacuum sigil, which sucks up enemies vortex style so you can mow them down with sword swipes. However, when I run into a frostworm, I begin to feel the weakness of the class. I feel like I'm just spamming left click to fight this guy. I know you could say the same about warrior, but there's a big difference between the two vocations. What makes me even more sad is, it works. Spamming left click beats the worm. I can't grumble too much because I find a nice shield, so time to get my ass kicked in Bitter Black Isle. Okay, now we're talking. There are new enemies, bigger monsters, and challenges since I beat the daemon. Let's go, we're having a great... Okay, so death still feels a little beyond my reach and beyond my patience, but I am liking Mystic Knight so far. The general left click spamming is the weakest part of the vocation, but the jumping strike and gravity well are fun active abilities. Meanwhile, I've unlocked the ability to enchant my entire party's weapons with an element, giving me some nice utility. Additionally, the riposte skills are now stronger, and when I enchant my shield with these, they trigger certain effects on a perfectly timed block. For Blessed Riposte, it sends out bolts of holy light that seem to stagger and deal some damage. Frozen Riposte just straight up freezes an enemy, which is really cool. Bitter Black Isle is kind of a nightmare now. Too much of a nightmare. Once again, I'm just not enjoying it. The fact is, I just don't have the character level for Phase 2 of Bitter Black Isle, or the skill level, I'll admit it. I need to be higher level to compensate for how shit I am, and I can't really show off Mystic Knight here to a satisfactory extent. I refuse to beat my head against BBI, so I have a choice. I can either go back to Gransys or the Everfall and grind on laughably easy mobs, or I can try New Game Plus and see if that holds any new challenge. Guess which one I chose. I get my greatsword out of storage and make my preparations for the new era. One of the things I did get from fighting in the Everfall were Wake Stones. Using those we open a rift or somewhere, and it's here I am confronted by the Seneschal, the god of this domain. At first I'm being played with, tested, before I'm sent down a tunnel of major figures from the main quest, culminating in what would be a phenomenal showdown. The Seneschal reveals himself as the Arisen from the very start of the game. And here, in this Hall of Creation, Arisen is pit against Arisen. God versus Challenger, a clash of titans. Unfortunately, I am vastly over-leveled and one-shot him. But thematically, I am still impressed. This entire sequence is wonderful, and just another example of how quickly Dragon's Dogma can recapture my interest. I can question the Seneschal on the nature of existence, the concept of eternity, real coffee table stuff, and he talks of how the entire world is stuck in a cyclical loop. It's a wonderfully meta way of enriching the New Game Plus with lore. The eternal return. There is a real sense of weight as your character hesitates before grasping the God's Bane, a blade capable of slaying what amounts to the god of this looping universe, but even by his own account, that is just a word here, for he was not the first, and you shan't be the last. Dragon's Dogma is smart enough to not only make you feel like a deity slayer, but make it feel merciful. As the Seneschal, you can sit on your Zeus throne and visit the world as an invisible ghost. I use this opportunity to terrorise the local townsfolk, but beyond that, nothing really happens. Being omnipotent isn't all it's cracked up to be.
I was even the Scarecrow for a while.
Oh, we've all done the Scarecrow. Big deal.
You're ultimately left with only one option, to use the God's Bane on yourself. Your pawn leaps after you and in a strange twist seems to become you, or at least inherit your humanity or something. They land on the shore and call out from within your character's body. Madeline is there waiting, and presumably your character's love interest here would be thinking that the person in front of them is the Arisen. My pawn decides not to say anything, so I'm assuming they just picked up where I left off and lived happily ever after with Mads. Forever leading a double life. This game is nuts. The credit sequence is worth watching because it's just so creative. They incorporate character sheets into this beautiful book with pages of the dev team interwoven with your character and your most used pawns. After that, the game seamlessly plays into New Game Plus. Just hit continue and you start over. The game even saves your appearance data. But I don't just want to replay the game, so it's time to activate hard mode. Oh yes, this will hopefully be a step up from regular gameplay. I launch into hard mode and here we are, back in Casadis before all hell breaks loose. I decide to pick Strider as my starting vocation to get some ranks in that, as I can't pick Mystic Knight anyway. I'm going to fast forward a bit now. But suffice to say, I'm joined by Nazeem once again, and this time I pick those fucking flowers for the healer.
The wounded need medicine.
The injured will die without those flowers.
Alright, I'm doing it. Now she wants Moonglow, sheesh. So I run all over the place until I finally find them growing on a rock across the beach. Oh, fucking lantern. The aiming and general gameplay is as good as I remember, although hard mode isn't much of a challenge at this point as enemy health remains the same. We'll see how we fare further into the game. The Hydra attacks, and I'm reminded of the amazing animation and artwork for the creatures. There's so much from classic mythological tales in this game, and I love it.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes!
Before I take the Hydra head to Gran Soren, I head back to Casadis because there's two things I need to pick up. First, the most important item in the game, and secondly...
You do recall me, yes? Ravishing beauty of legend and song? Madeline.
I rush through her escort quest to the camp before proceeding. Yes, after I get Queener out of the Witchwood, I remembered. Let me take a moment to say thank you to everyone who told me you can kick the ox to make him run faster. I'll apologise first for thinking you were all full of shit after I tried to stab the life out of the poor thing and wondered why it wasn't working. Then I realised you just press E next to him and he bolts it. Thank you for also telling me you can heal him to keep kicking him. You guys saved me the better part of an hour. Who designed this quest? This was the guy who looked at escort quests in MMOs and thought, I can make this even worse. Okay, let's go Mystic Knight time. So I did the Everfall and slaughtered a few undead, and at this rank, I'm still not feeling Mystic Knight. It suffers from the slow cast times of Sorcerer, which I've come to learn to appreciate, but it lacks the flair of the spellcasters. The timed blocks are nice, my favourite being the Frost Riposte, which freezes blocked enemies, but the constant need to reapply the buff is exhausting. Enchanting my entire party with ice magic is a really nice ability that gives the class great flavour, but it lasts a few seconds and takes way too long. When I look at the Mystic Knight, I want tanky paladin with a functional taunt. I don't have a taunt as a Mystic Knight, unlike the fighter. This is such an oversight it makes me cry, because you can't attract enemies to attack you to make use of the awesome block spells. Also, one of my pawns keeps taunting and only making the situation worse, so he has to go. One thing I will say is that on hard mode, about a third of the enemies now drop giant sacks of gold containing about 10,000 G each. As someone who hates grinding past a certain threshold, this is great. Unfortunately, since none of the enemies actually feel more challenging in hard mode, it does feel like I'm getting something for nothing. This is going to sound like a scripted event that I forced, but I was just about thinking about scrapping the video. I wasn't having as great a time as I'd like, and I didn't feel I could do Mystic Knight the justice it deserves if I just couldn't get into the right mindset. When I encounter some Saurians near the lake, and they actually do proc my Frost Shield, and it's fantastic. Look at this, they get knocked back and frozen, I can run up and shatter them with my sword, or my pawns are ready to blow them apart with meteors. And then I remember how pleasing the game is visually as I smile, running through the green countryside. I don't even realise I've ran myself straight towards the Overland Drake. And you know what? I actually really enjoyed buffing up for this, getting my shield ready, giving the party ice enchantment. And look at this, the blocking effect deals such great damage to the Drake. I feel useful again. I'm smacking it and taking the Dragon's Bite straight to the face. My crack team of elite spellcasters is racking up some mad damage while I keep him busy. And then he mind controls Morgan Le Fay and she kills me in one shot. This game can be summed up in one sentence.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Okay, we go again. Don't die on me now, Dommy Mummy. Fucking hell. And as I fight the Drake, I started to enjoy myself more and more, so I figure that the disappointment I've been experiencing has not been down to Mystic Knight. It's misplaced blame. It's down to the way the game handles New Game Plus and hard mode. Firstly, at present, hard mode is no harder than regular. I've been scammed. Secondly, New Game Plus in no way ups the challenge. Now some might see that as a positive. You beat the game, you wade back through it with your ultra powerful character with your full Sunwell gear and your axe from Ruby weapon. But for me, the challenge needed to scale to be enjoyable. It's all very well and good having the cycle of eternal return, but if I'm not being challenged, at least somewhat, then what's the point in returning?
These things, Jedi cut them down like they're butter.
The other end of the spectrum is of course Bitter Black Isle, where it's so challenging I want to go away and level before I even attempt it. But then there's nothing challenging to level up on except enemies I wouldn't even call cannon fodder. Or of course, Bitter Black Isle itself. I think this is why my recommendation of Dragon's Dogma was cautiously positive, because it's always give and take with this game, at least for me. It's always that hidden gem that's marred by contrived systems and design flaws. I do love this game, but fucking hell, I started out with the hair of a lion's mane and I've pulled most of that out. Eddie boy, I know how you feel. There's just something about this game though, even with all the ball aches that make it such a joy. Even simple moments like looking at all the creative pawns that other players create, going through their info and seeing the quests they're good at, how long they've been playing. It's like a disconnected community, which is nice. I cut this for runtime from the original review, but there is a barbershop, and you can change not only your hairstyle, but also your eyebrows, skin color, and even your character's voice, meaning Dragon's Dogma had better post-creation character customization than both Skyrim and Cyberpunk did at launch. There's lots of good hairs to choose from in this game, actually. They're all nice, but I think I'll go with maybe this one. Yeah, that looks good. I head to the Catacombs, and I have to admit I'm starting to gel more with Mystic Knight. At this point, I'd been advised by Rakot that you can stack the cannon spell for a shotgun effect. Thank you for telling me this, because originally I was not convinced that swapping wading through enemies for a magic ball was my cup of tea. But just this one bit of advice transforms what I felt was a less satisfying ability into an absolute joy. The cannon mimics your current weapon enchantment as well, meaning I can freeze enemies before they even get close. This is absolutely nuts. Look at this. I press on with the questing.
My.
Man, Mason is cool. So is Lycian. They both needed more to do in this story. I go back to get knighted, and you know what? This little shit has it coming.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Okay, well, I guess that's to be expected. I have a conversation with a man who can't maintain eye contact, and here's that boy, JB Blank, as Aldous. Great bit of voice acting here. He elevates what would be a background character to a memorable role. He also played Vander in Arcane, and as a real live action actor, he was Dr. Barry Goodman in Better Call Saul. Hold up, he was Ignis, the Furnace Master from Old You Are? Okay, I'm sorry, this is a rabbit hole I go down making all these fucking videos, I swear. I go to see what happens if I just rush straight to the Duchess's tower when I'm shown the door by the human chastity belt. Enough filler. I finally reached max rank in the vocation, so it's time to see what we have to play with in Bitter Black Isle. Okay, we've got this cool looking AoE slam, but it takes so fucking long to cast that I will never use this. This looks awesome as fuck, but I have no idea how much damage it does. I still think that the shield blocking is my favourite mechanic here. Real talk, the fucking shotgun cannon is still the best thing I've ever seen. I want to return to this later and really flex with the abilities, but for now I want a change, so I try Magic Archer. Okay, this looks good. I've got some homing arrow ability, and it seems like all my regular arrow shots home in as well. They don't feel as fast as the Strider shots, and I dislike that, but it's a trade-off. I'm also digging the dagger abilities, which feel appropriately like a magic assassin might have. I take off into the overworld to get to grips with the vocation a bit more and continue the main quest, heading into the ancient quarry. And even at this basic level, Magic Archer feels fun to play. The ranged gameplay slows down to accommodate the magic-based bow moves, while the melee remains the same fast-paced dagger play as the Strider. This strikes a nice balance, and in what had me fucking rolling was my all-sorcerer team leaping up to smack the ever-loving shit out of that ogre. He ain't excited anymore. I should mention I received a lot of help from everyone commenting, and want to shout out Azael the Beast and Knight Galard for advice about Elder Ogre weak points being on the neck, revealing that spellcasters can aim manually by holding shift, and that sorcerers can self-buff by holding shift while casting, which is infinitely better than the way I was doing it, by running into a corner so I couldn't see anyone else and casting my buff ball. Speaking of sorcerer, I also was told I didn't show off high bolide, so I want to rectify that with some grand bolide. Yeah, looking back, I was laughably wrong. Sorcerer slaps pretty fucking hard. Look at this. Holy shit. Marek the Jester detailed how you can save scum your way to better Bitter Black Isle rewards. The Bitter Black Isle drops are seeded, so you'll always obtain the same reward even if you reload and try again, but the reward still changes depending on your class. So if you're not happy after purifying a BBI item, you can remove yourself from DD, reload, and then switch to another class. Kata May was one of the many people who advised me about the damage reduction system and its thresholds. Thank you to you all for that. To be frank, I've had so many helpful comments that it's overwhelming to remember and mention them all here. I'm progressing through the main quest and reach a point where I have to pass a castle run by a ladies-only bandit gang, and I notice they aren't attacking me. I can go and chat with them. There's even a quest for me to do. I realise they aren't attacking me because unlike the last time I came here, I don't have a bloke in my group. Nazim actually got me outright attacked on my first playthrough.
Do you get to the Cloud District very often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course.
They asked me to join their gang of thieves, and I do so. My first task, get rid of the local competitors. Hilariously, they're all the way over the fucking mountains, so how the two gangs ever interfere with each other is beyond me. I'm enjoying the Seeker arrows a lot actually, and the ability to lay shadow pin traps for enemies is great fun. Enemies that walk over these get trapped, and that leaves them vulnerable to my own gang. The feeling of being a lightning whirlwind isn't lost either, allowing me to switch from daggers to bow seamlessly. Ophist is pleased with my manslaying, and that's the only quest she gives. Then I wonder, what if I can romance Ophis? So I start giving her presents, and as luck would have it, she likes skulls. I have 124 skulls. I've sped this up, but I gave her all of them. Every single one, plus 2 fish and a book. This chick's got more skulls than a Warhammer diorama and she's still not biting. Okay, you know what, that's fine. I can handle rejection. Before tackling the dragon, I decide to see which piece of loot he drops looks the best, and lo and behold, Mystic Knight has an amazing shield, so I pop back to Gran Soren to switch. I decide to have some fun and gear up with my tattered fisherman outfit. I check the notice board because I want to see the escort quests I won't do, knowing they'll be cancelled when I beat the dragon. Ophis has a posting. I'm not out of the running yet. I run Ophis to her escort location and I must admit the lack of a taunt still annoys me.
Am I a joke to you?
But Mystic Knight is good. I can't wait to try it out on some harder enemies. I get that moment again when the game just hits me and I have nothing to say. Okay, let's see who else has an escort quest. Sir Maximilian wants to go to the Great Wall encampment. You're in luck, Max, that's just where I'm headed. I'll say one thing about Dragon's Dogma. Aside from the Ox, it has the fastest escort quests ever, as your quest giver teleports with you. That is genius. We teleport over and the escort quest is done.
This fortress is meant to protect Gransys from the dragon. It does look very solid.
That's what she said!
The castle goes well enough, and after dealing with the mix of cultists, undead and monsters, and eventually, after wading through the Tainted Mountain, we reach the moment of truth. Grigori. For some reason, Mads has been usurped by Mercedes and she just looks fucking ridiculous panicking about in that armor. I'd forgotten just how good this fight is. The Daemon may be harder, and sure, Grigori is pretty easy, but holy shit. This is the best dragon fight I've ever seen. It's a gauntlet, a chase, a climb, a siege, a desperate struggle to strike a single blow before finally it evolves into an all-out battle. I wish this was harder in New Game Plus, but I feel the same way about the entire game. It's so damn satisfying though, and look, the sword I got for slaying him is named after the game. It's official merchandise. I feel like I've meandered about making this video, trying out new things without a real goal in mind. So I decide then and there to level Magic Archer to the max and try out both these vocations properly in BBI. So I let my character cook for about half an hour or so, and it still isn't enough to reach max rank. Oddly, I found I hit the same point before on Sorcerer. Perhaps the last 2 ranks of the vocation had a steep XP curve. Yeah, that's close enough. And now we are talking. The magic bow has felt a little lackluster up until now, with my arrows not quite packing any sort of punch versus the standard ranged class. But with proper skills, I do away with the weak seeker arrows and welcome into my life explosive arrows that stick in place, biding their time to be detonated with a regular attack. This is not only really fun, but great for setting up some spectacular chain detonations. I also get to relive what it was like playing Hanzo before Overwatch died with another fun ability. These lightning ricochets gain damage the more they bounce around. This is actually solid design because every time I was in an enclosed space, I kept resorting to my daggers. The magic bow lacked the projectile speed of the Strider to make it a good option in close quarters. With the lightning ricochet, both weapons are once again viable in tight spaces. I like the idea of having to switch between daggers and bow, don't get me wrong, and you're still better off using daggers if goblins get too close for comfort, but it's skills like this that make Magic Archer a well-rounded vocation. Speaking of daggers, Shadow Shackle has been upgraded and now casts faster with a bigger radius. It's probably one of my favourite abilities for holding enemies in place, until Vortex Arrow, which accomplishes this to a lesser extent, but it has the benefit of being ranged. Again, good balance. I still don't find the other abilities fast enough to be worth using, but I enjoy Sunflare. It's great for not only a quick fire burst, but also positioning behind someone in a flash. The sprint attack is just an essential piece of kit. It also feels good to have options of attack for both melee and far range. I actually feel like I stand a chance against this guy. Well, I mean, I am wearing a fucking ripped t-shirt. Also, I've noticed that because I have 3 spellcasters with healing magic, the instant I get a bruise, they all start healing me. Which is terrible when I get tagged as Vor, because they all stop dealing damage to heal me, meaning none of them are actively trying to free my character from being swallowed whole. so I struggle through the worst button mashing I've ever seen in my life. Fortunately, I seem immortal thanks to the ibuprofen fields made by my sorcerers, but still I decide to swap one out for a big Chad called Marco. I'm still not max vocation, but I'm beginning to learn the synergies of Magic Archer. I should be less concerned with the pea shooter homing attack and more concerned with firing a vortex shot at an enemy, loading them up with explosive bolts, and letting the vortex arrow turn them into a moving black hole that sucks up all the enemies nearby and then detonating the explosive bolts in a fiery volcano. This is so much fun. Here we go again. Good job I bought someone to help me this time.
Don't be so careless.
Marco? Help me. Marco, help me, you bastard! Oh, look. Oh, what's wrong, Marco? Don't like being Boba Fetted, do you, you fuck? Okay, so much as I enjoyed that, I did have to go get a new Marco. And I'm just about deciding it isn't worth getting that final rank in Magic Archer when this happens. In case you missed it, this was my rank 10 popping by grabbing hold of a goblin and throwing him down a pit. I have to repeat this because Dragon's Dogma is the perfect seesaw of frustration versus satisfaction, of hair-pulling contrivance versus ridiculously fun gameplay. Rank 10 unlocks Sacrificial Bolt, an arrow that when fully charged will straight up dissolve a pawn in order to deal massive amounts of damage. That's pretty grim, but I should try it out at least. It's shit. If your cast gets interrupted, your pawn dies and the arrow never gets fired. This is, oh, that fucking seesaw again. But all that being said, Magic Archer is good. Dancer Cow, a fellow warrior main, nice, recommends I try Ranger, and while I have already spent a lot of time in DD, I can't help but take a look, and it's here I spot something I never noticed before. There are 3 types of bows. I've only found 2 longbows through my entire 94 hours of playtime. I love the powerful look of the draw. You can feel the weight of the weapon reflected in your character's animation. Ranger is the warrior of bows. I need to rewind back to Dancer Cow's comment, which I read months before I wrote this script, because without realising it, I've echoed their comment almost verbatim. And if I don't mention it, I'm going to feel like I stole this fantastic description. You nailed it, my dude. While I head back to Gran Soren to see Dookie, it's time to talk about it. The Dragon's Dogma 2 trailer came out. I'm interested and optimistic, but there's not enough information for me to get super mega hype. I've had chats with some lovely people, and the consensus is the familiar is on display first to show they're staying true to the original, with hope that new stuff will be shown off later. This is the best case scenario, honestly. The setting is basically 5 minutes up the road, however, so I think they have to do something different narratively. I'd love to see a story about breaking the Eternal Cycle. I'm a big fan of destructible environments, but I'm always skeptical that they're staged, one-off scripted affairs. I could be entirely wrong, however. They brought back David Lodge, the original voice actor for Grigori the Dragon. Whatever other reservations I have about this game, it's things like this that give me hope. Visually, it looks fantastic. The animations look fluid and are clearly made as a love letter to the original. The bright and open landscape with more variation in environments this time around. Some of the new magic looks great, but what interests me most of all is this bridge forming spell. We've got good looking characters.
Take a look.
It's a dramatic voiceover, sick jumps. Pawns have been renamed broskies, and I think we all know which part of the trailer caught the most attention. It was the ox, that's right, they brought the ox back, because that's what I wanted to see. Now interestingly, I thought this was a harpy, but Subway to Venus corrected me. This is in fact a sphinx. A sphinx that appears in Dragon's Dogma Online, a game that shut down in 2019. A game that there is currently an active community developing a private server of. I'm actually kind of interested in looking at this, and this mirrors part of the magic of Dragon's Dogma, because there's a possibility that I will explore Dragon's Dogma Online in the future because I made a joke about a pair of big sphinx tits. Most of all, I respect that the first trailer we see for the game is a fucking gameplay trailer. We're in an age of trailers that have one sentence stamped on all of them. In-engine, but not gameplay footage. Then there's Hideaki Itsunu, dropping this like the Snyder Cut, straight up gameplay with a bit of cutscene footage. Thank you. Anyway, I'm enjoying Ranger. I've got a shotgun style arrow burst, a powerful charged arrow attack that can really deal some respectable damage, and this great meteor shot sniper ability that lets me take out some bathing harpies.
Wow.
Instant karma for that one, by the way. Ironically, I feel less vulnerable in close quarters than I did on Magic Archer, despite the longbow being geared towards a longer range style of combat. The aim once again shines like it did for Strider. Headshots deal more damage and the hitboxing is good. I never felt like there was bullshit with arrows missing. If your arrow hits part of the enemy model, it strikes. Even without headshots, Ranger plays well enough for general long-range bowplay. It's accurate, fast, and powerful. However, when it came to vulnerable spots, I found it really depends on the fight. I realised that Deathly Arrow has a timed shot mechanic. If I release it at just the right moment, time slows down and I deliver a devastating attack, enough to drop a demonic worm in a single shot. Unfortunately, its health pool is so big and my pawns refuse to attack it with any kind of useful ability, so I once again grow bored and leave.
Fuck you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Fucking idiot.
And Marco, by the way, fucking useless. I dump him and give Dommy Mummy a break to experiment with some sorcerer syncing on my pawns, allowing them to cast spells together faster. Hopefully it gives me an edge over the Dark Bishop. Everyone has been hyping up sorcerer syncing, and you know what? Yeah, it's great. I must admit I was put off at first by trying to find sorcerers with the same spells, but it's not a big deal, and the pawns will actually shout out to let you know what they're planning. All in all, we're a much more effective team, and I'm really pleased to say Ranger doesn't disappoint, even at this early vocation level. The Deathly Arrow is knocking out the Bishop's Dragon and dealing respectable damage to the Bishop himself. Coupled with meteor strikes from my pawns, this is far easier than attempting to do it with 2 mages and a warrior. Fucking Marco. But I'm feeling I've done an injustice to Mystic Knight. It was the whole point of this video, and I really didn't give it a chance to shine because the learning curve was just so different to Warrior. I know that the animated armor is coming up, so we need someone to pick up the sword. Let's see just how strong Mystic Knight is with experience and a competent team of pawns. Okay, it's pretty fucking strong. I even managed to pull off the Stone Forest caster down this worm. The joy of a timed block, creating these fantastic elemental effects, the insanity of the magic cannon, the powerful buffing animations, and after a long struggle getting to grips with it, pulling my hair out and losing my patience, I'm glad to say Mystic Knight got it mystic right. And I'm enjoying that Bitter Black Isle can still smack me about, even with all the levels under my belt. It's not overwhelming challenge, it's just challenge. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Mystic Knights can equip staves and have access to the sleep spell, but I struggle to do anything useful with this. So, how does the Mystic Knight stand up to the Daemon? Not gonna lie, I found this a fair bit rougher than last time around, until I got the loop of jumping onto his head nailed down again. We suffered a casualty because it seems that unless you spam the come here command, pawns will just wander into his black hole. Predictably, the Knight has a lot more survivability than the Warrior, but I'm ashamed to admit I couldn't do it with my Fisherman outfit, and had to equip my proper gear. Damn good fight though, and being able to execute a timed block on the projectiles is an absolute joy. I realised this was a meandering adventure, but that's honestly how I play Dragon's Dogma, or any RPG, fumbling around finding what works for me. I don't feel I could ever do all these vocations justice. I'll be revisiting Ranger and Assassin as people have asked me to, and I didn't really do Ranger justice here. I'll look into post-Daemon, but for now I'll be wrapping up this video, as I feel I've given Mystic Knight and Magic Archer their due. Both great classes with satisfying abilities that are designed to synergize together, each with their own weak points that I can't help but acknowledge. And I got some loot from Daemon, so time to see what I got. Some rings, 2 fucking staves, of course, and Carrion's Mantle. Okay, that's actually some pretty sick drip for the Sorcerer. Nice. Check out the little skulls in the book. What else? Oh.
A G-string.
Oh, hold on. This is Barbarian gear. There's a holy shit. There's a proper Red Sonja outfit. Delta Guard. Okay, let's rarefy that shit and get ready. Oh, look at this. Back on the Warrior, with the great sword and a new goal in mind, I'm gonna get straight back into Bitter Black Isle and farm until I get the Delta chest piece to complete the Red Sonja look on my character. Let me see what the drop chance is on that. Okay, that's Delta Guard, that's the Barbarian chainmail bottom, where's the top? Upgrade ingredients, there's no where they drop. There's no direct link, maybe the comments will know. There is no matching top. They didn't. Why would you make the bottom but not the top? It's the iconic Red Sonja outfit. Why would... It's half done. It's... half done. Yeah, for the I mean, I'm probably never going to review this. Try right.
I mean, it has to be too late, right?
Yeah, it's true. The fucking son of a bitch. There's nothing there. Fucking bastard.